Hey there, knitters! Welcome to episode 38 of Knit Talk with a Tech Editor. I'm Megan of the Unapologetic Knitter, and I'm a tech editor. Today's video is going to be somewhat similar to last week's video in format insofar as it's going to be a little bit off the cuff, a little bit less scripted, but we've got lots of fun things to cover, so I hope you'll stick around and join me. And for sure, we're going to be doing that prize drawing from last week's video. And speaking of last week's video, thank you to everybody who left a comment. I tried to make the contest nice and easy so everybody had a pretty good shot at getting their name in a hat. And 90% of you were right. It was, in fact, my spinning wheel. So Scout is the name of that wheel that usually sits over my shoulder, is something that I treated to myself to earlier this year. And when I start a new skill like spinning, I tend to go a little bit overboard and I want to do everything all at once. So shortly after purchasing Scout and learning how to spin on them, I actually purchased a second wheel who I named Juniper. Juniper is also a shacked spinning wheel. She is a sidekick and she makes my heart so happy. I love spinning on her. And as someone who's not going to be a production spinner, I do it for the joy, for smaller projects. I might get into some larger ones like sweaters, but for the most part, I'm just having fun right now. So I'm spending a lot more time with her. So I loaned a good friend of mine who actually taught me how to spin with her wheel, my Scout, my matchless from Shacked, so she could try it out. She currently has a Shacked Ladybug, and the nice thing about the matchless is it offers the double drive, I think that's what it's called, the double drive spinning method. So it's slightly different from Scotch tension. Now, if you're not a spinner, that's not going to mean much to you. And truly, because I'm so new to it, it doesn't mean a ton to me either. I do know that it has a different way of propelling the bobbin and the flyer, and so your fibers spin slightly differently. But because I am still so new to it, I don't know enough to know which one is better or worse. So all that to say, she's not gone. I've just loaned her to a friend while I'm having a lot of fun spinning on Juniper, which is a very easy wheel to spin on, especially in front of the TV, because boy howdy, it is spinning season. So that's where she is, and we're going to get to the drawing in just a few minutes. But I wanted to answer a question that I have seen someone leave on a couple of different of my videos. They weren't related to those particular videos, but I thought it would be a fun one to cover today because it's fairly easy. So the question is from someone who I think is named Yvonne. Yvonne Vigil 7489 is the username, and the question is there a pattern or way to knit a granny square blanket but connect the squares as you go? Yes and no. I'm sure there actually is technically one considered granny squares. I think, I'm not a crocheter, but I think that specifically refers to granny squares for crocheting. Because I am not a crocheter, I couldn't speak to whether there is a pattern for that specifically, but several years ago I started a project called the Miter Square Blanket, and this is very much knit and it is connect as you go. So I didn't get all that far. It's only about 12 inches tall. But these squares are all knit into the previous square below it. So your ends are fairly minimal because you can weave them in as you go, and you're just using scrap yarns. This one in particular is fingering weight, and you just, if I pick up this pink one here, you pick up stitches along both edges and then knit a center decrease to create the square shape. So each square builds on top of the one below it. It's very quick. It's an excellent way to use up scrap yarns. And I did a little bit of research because the original blanket pattern that I used was simply called Blanky by a designer named Shelly Kang, and her pattern is no longer available online. It was originally part of her blog series, and it looks like it's gone. She finished the project and perhaps took it down. However, Louise Tilbrook has created a digital PDF booklet that teaches you all about how to create miter squares and how to turn it into a blanket. So in the description below the video, I am going to link to the page where Louise talks about it. and where you can get a copy of that book. It is so fun. I had a bag, which I think I have now. Oh, no, I have it here. A bag absolutely full of mini skeins and leftover yarns from blankets or socks that I knit. And then there's just tons of them. And you can exchange them with friends if you have too many that you have left over that are like too much yardage of one color. You can swap, say, 5 or 6 grams with your friends, so you can create your own super multicolored miter square blanket. Okay, well, today is just being a Monday, isn't it? It actually is a Monday. I typically film these the Wednesday or the Thursday before you see them, but because I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to enter the drawing, I'm shooting this the Monday, so just 2 days before you see it. And it is acting like a Monday. My battery, my camera just died, so that's why we had that fun little break in the video there. So this year has been a wild ride. Deciding to create up this podcast, just from the ideation of deciding I wanted to share what I knew with people from questions that I see on a regular basis has brought me a lot of joy. But it's also been a much bigger time commitment than I expected. So, with that said, today's video is going to be the last video of 2023 for many reasons, but most of which is I feel like I cannot currently give you the time that I need to do the videos justice. I was very fortunate to get an email a few weeks ago from a publishing house that I love to work with to edit a book last minute. And so I have to edit 20 patterns between now and December 20th, and that is no small ask. So my time is pretty full right now, and I really like when I do a technical video for you that it is, up here. And right now my time is not giving me that. So we're going to have a fun little wrap up for the rest of today, and then we're going to look ahead to 2024 when the video series is going to start up again. So let's start with announcing that I'm so excited. I'm going to Rhinebeck in 2024. I went once back in 2018, and as a matter of fact, if you watched last week's video, you saw me with a couple of my friends there. And over the years, I had planned to go back in 2020, but with COVID, I didn't feel super confident traveling. And in 2022 and 2023, I didn't have the time to go. So all that to say, I just booked my accommodations for 2024 in Rhinebeck. I'm going to be staying in Saugerties with 2 of my best girlfriends, and I am just so pumped. But with that now comes the idea of your Rhinebeck sweater. So because I do design in my free time, which there hasn't been a lot of lately, I think I'm probably going to end up designing my sweater for Rhinebeck for this coming year. I might go back and actually redesign the sweater that I created in 2018 because I never actually published that pattern. So I may go back and redesign that one to make it a little more accessible for people because, the pattern itself wasn't that hard, but it was an inset sleeve sweater, which is not always very easy, and it's not something that I tend to knit or wear in general. So I think I will convert it to be a drop shoulder style sweater, and I might knit it at a heavier weight. I can't decide. It was originally designed in fingering weight yarn using Brooklyn Tweed's Loft. So with that said, I sort of wondered if those of you who are here and are excited about knitting sweaters wanted to do a sweater knit along with me starting in maybe like May next year. That would give me enough time to design the sweater, and if you like it, you could join me. Or if you guys wanted to do like a poll to decide what kind of sweater we should all knit. It would likely not be color work, it would be textural because I'm not a color work designer, and it probably would not be a cardigan if it's raglan. I'm happy to do raglan pullovers, but because I never find that raglan cardigans fit me very well because I'm narrow-shouldered, I wouldn't design one. So just some food for thought if you thought you were going to go to Rhinebeck, or you're not going to Rhinebeck but you wanted to participate and knit a beautiful sweater with me. That would be fun. Let me know in the comments below whether you would like to join me with that and what your ideas for the ideal Rhinebeck sweater might be. So another announcement, boy, today feels like it's just all sorts of announcements. December is a really busy time, not only because of the holidays, but because all of my clients, of course, are asking to get their final patterns of the year edited, but also because it's my birthday month. So this coming Sunday, December 10th, I turn 43, and I think I'm going to, no, not I think, I know, I'm going to be hosting a pattern sale. So because you guys are special to me, you're going to get early access to my sale. This is going to run for the public who don't watch my videos from Friday the 8th until end of day, Sunday, December 10th. However, because you're here early with me for this video, you can access the sale a couple of days early. So I will put a discount code right below so you can go get a sale on the pattern. It'll be 43% off each pattern that you purchase. So there you go. You can celebrate my birthday with me. So now, since I like to get prezzies and I like to give prezzies, let's do a little giveaway that we talked about last week. So for the Brooklyn Tweed Shelter Skein of Yarn, along with a digital copy of my learning hat pattern, which we're going to use as our little hat to pick a name out of today. So 20 of you got it right in the comments, so I am just going to randomly draw a name out of the bag or out of the hat. And our winner is Catherine Bradley 2495. Oh, how fun. I actually know Catherine through Facebook. She's very active on my Facebook business page as well. So that's delightful. Catherine, if you will please send me a private message with your mailing address and your Ravelry username, I can get this lovely little skein of yarn shipped off to you and get a digital copy of the learning hat pattern into your Ravelry library for you. Thank you so much for joining me here and on Facebook. Let's just talk a little bit about what's going to happen for the rest of this year and looking into 2024 before I sign off. The Christmas holidays for me will begin on December 24th, end of day. That's the Friday. My family and I do celebrate Christmas, and I say my family, it's a small group this year. It'll be just myself and my husband and our 3 dogs. Our family came out to see us last Christmas, so we're flying solo this year. So while I will not be working in terms of tech editing or anything, I am still going to be busy. We talked earlier this year about doing a sock knit along starting in February to teach folks how to knit socks that fit. And specifically, we're going to be looking at either a heel flap gusset sock or heel sock, or the Fleagle heel sock, which is my go-to because it fits wonderfully for those of us with really high insteps. So I'm going to be spending some time over the holidays designing that sock pattern so that it's accessible for everybody, but also so it's really fun to knit. I am also going to be knitting, just by my own design, on an Advent shawl. So for the first time ever, I treated myself to an Advent kit. It was from Twisted Willow Yarns up in Ontario, Canada. She and I have formed a relationship after I discovered her yarns at one of my local yarn stores earlier this year. And she is just one of the most lovely people, but she's also a delightfully talented designer. Dyer, not a designer. Oh, no, she doesn't design. She dyes yarn. Anyway, so I have opened the first 3 boxes in the Advent kit that she sent, and I'm just knitting up a DK weight shawl. Each little skein is 20 grams of DK weight yarn, and I'm just going to fade them into each other until I run out of yarn. I did open today. Today is December 4th, and it's just a slightly darker version of that lovely caramel color that you saw at the end. And then when I am not designing or knitting, I'm going to be spinning. Folks, it's something. So I've been spinning on my spinning wheel, and I've been working with a beautiful Jacob's combed top from the Woolery, and I'm on my 3rd bobbin. When I'm completed this 3rd bobbin, I will be halfway through the entire bundle, which was 750 grams total. And I have started also doing spindle spinning. If you are on Instagram and you follow Andrea Mowry, you can see that she started a little fan club of spindle spinners. So I've got some Blueface Leicester BFL on these 3-drop spindles. I've just started my third one, and I will have to put another about 3/4 of an ounce of fiber on here. And I started doing supported spindle. So if you are not a spinner, this one actually sits in a little cup and you spin the fibers onto the stick like this. And I'm not very good at it. It's really uncomfortable because it's just not as intuitive to me. But the reason I want to learn it is excellent for TV spinning. I like to put a little pillow on my lap and I can spin away. And we'll just have to see what it becomes, but it's lovely. This is a lovely little Shetland top fiber. So as I mentioned earlier, this will be my last video of the year, but that doesn't mean that I'm not prepared for new videos for next year. My first video is going to come on Wednesday, December 10th, that's this month. Wednesday, January 10th will be my first video of 2024, and we're going to get back into some technical stuff. In February, I have the great fortune of being able to take a big trip. I'm going to be going to Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm going to be visiting some weaving shops. So I hope to have some wonderful stories to tell you about that when I get back. And in January, I've got a new book that I'm going to be editing as well, which of course I can't share with you about yet, but I am very excited about what's happening in 2024. And I want to thank you all so much for spending your time with me this year. It truly means a lot to me. I hope you've learned some things with me and you're looking forward to learning more with me next year. If you want to share what your holiday plans are, please feel free to leave a comment in the description below, or like in the comments below. I would love to hear from you and stay in touch over the holidays. Thank you again for spending your time with me. Have a wonderful rest of your week and happy knitting.